The real hype going into this year of Death Battle was always, for me at least, Bowser vs Eggman. It's a matchup I've been supporting for a long time, and hoping was going to happen pretty much since I began thinking, but hold on, that kinda cooks though. So the question to ask now is, did it live up to the hype, and did I like it? If you've watched my reaction, or read the title of the video, you objectively know the answer to this already, but we're going to pretend you haven't done either of those, so I can act all coy and leave it up in the air for the 3 people who think I might be contrarian about this. Don't know why I brought the title, no one in the community can read. This is one of the most well-received episodes of all time, I think currently the most well-received episode. It is the episode that conjured up a Know Your Meme page, the episode where the music track hit trending for the first time, and for several people I know, their new all-time favourite episode. Now it's time for my opinion.
After you get a load of this! Behold, Turtle! I have caused the eclipse! What will you do now?
Huh? You think the eclipse intimidates me? I got G Fuel, the sponsor of my army.
G Fuel? What is that?
It's your cheat code in a can. It has 0 carbs, 0 calories.
Zero sugars!
Yeah, that. Well, tons of those, antioxidant things.
And caffeine too, which is why Junior can't have it. He's under 18, and you should drink it responsibly too.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, impossible!
It is the impossible. It also comes in 50 flavors, in pre-prepared cans or formula tubs.
The more the merrier, I suppose, but Metal, destroy his G-Fuel! Say goodbye!
How dare you! Get your hands off my
No! See! How do I get G-Fuel?
Head to the link in the description. My analysis says you can use code BLOODRIGHT for 20% off your order.
We must go do it as soon as possible. Purchase it and fire the G-Fuel cannon!
You idiot! I drank it all!
I got a load of it!
As early as just the intro, the episode is already winning against the other 2 this season. Batch. They spend a few more seconds on the first character, Bowser, so you can actually see the graphic he has. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that a lot more than fucking what Joker got. Bowser's analysis is one of the hardest fucking analyses of all time. The analysis manages to both feel perfectly fit within the modern era, while also reminding me of ones like Godzilla and Doomsday that just grow in scale and literally go from, yeah, he's pretty strong, to, holy shit, this fucker is immune to dying. The gradual growth in scale, I think, helps a lot in making the analysis feel more structured than it probably should. Death battles in the last few seasons have tended to either go in the direction of barely mention the story at all, or follow the story very strongly. But as Bowser doesn't really have much story beyond his origins and what can amount to an anthology series of random events, this episode goes out of order in continuity to instead go in order of growing scale. There's his smaller escapades early on, there's stuff like the news series and some of the smaller scale RPGs, then it ends on Fury Bowser, the Dreamstone, and the most visually impressive of them all, Galaxy, which does a lot to really feel like the analysis is flowing from one point to the other, despite there being minimal story to act as a through line for him, all while doing a good job of covering his character and the character of his army, their relationship to him, the few particularly notable units and so on. Hell, despite King Boo being a character who, in this context, is only relevant for his power set, and not at all relevant to Bowser because their relationship is so tenuous, they actually talk about him in a way that feels natural. And what I mean is, there are times in episodes where they'll mention something, and it's super obvious it's only being mentioned so they can then use it in the fight, or because it's relevant to the outcome. Times where you can tell it's some power or equipment that has almost no impact on the character's story or overall moveset. A minor example would be the DMAT gun for the Doctor. It's not a big deal in the episode itself, but it does feel like it just kind of comes out of nowhere, and you can tell that the only reason they're bringing the DMAT up is because of its applicability in the debate side of things, when they're making a big song and dance about it, despite the fact that it's like in one serial in all of Doctor Who and like one prose story and I think a comic, and that's it. It has minimal application to the Doctor's overall tale as mentioned in the episode. Now, moments like these aren't super common, they don't tend to detract much from my enjoyment of an episode, but as much as King Boo could easily feel like one of these, well, they gotta mention him because he matters to the conclusion, the way they blend him and Kamek together into the whole bit of how Bowser's army covers each other's weaknesses, it makes it feel like he's a more cohesive and natural part of Bowser's army than he actually is. It's a truly phenomenally written analysis, selling the sheer power of Bowser as well as the tightly knit nature of his army/family. Hilariously enough, what I said about the way King Boo dodged feeling like he only exists to be relevant to the debate, they then bring up the metal virus and the displacement trap in ways that make them feel like they're exclusively here to be part of the debate, which ends up being really funny as a red herring, because they then later go, anyway, Bowser just says no in the conclusion, specifically in relation to these two. But I can forgive that, because I do find Eggman's analysis funnier. It's probably just my sense of humor, but Tomato Tomato and the police impound joke are both pretty funny. The first one I know I've heard before, but the delivery was spot on. Eggman's analysis overall, though, I can't say I liked quite as much. It had the same general thing going on of progressively getting higher in scale, but I think it lacked a bit of character, which was hard to help because Eggman's army doesn't have much of a character. Sage obviously had to be saved to the end, and Metal Sonic got a pretty cool segment just to himself, but most of Eggman's other units don't have the kind of charm and personality as the Koopalings, Bowser Jr., Kamek, King Boo, and I think the ramping of scale is a bit muddled by the Death Egg too. While with Yoshi's feat, it's something that's so weird it doesn't immediately scream, oh yeah, that's huge. The Death Egg, it just blows up a star system. Still, Eggman's analysis is really good. It sells the power of the Chaos Emeralds really well, which is probably about the best you're gonna go about it, because obviously Eggman himself doesn't have much going on. And they managed to bring around the analysis feeling like a prattling off of random mechs by having that itself be the topic that leads into Sage, and how she affected Eggman. It's quite cool. And it goes without saying, holy fuck, the editing in this episode is immaculate. DJ cooked so hard, it's insane. This episode is scrumptious. He took the fucking Sunshine cutscene and made it look like it's in the style of the Mario 3 level end. Like, how do you even do that? Like, it's not even just the usual, hey, look at that cool comic edit. It's those rarer full-on graphical edits that the average episode may get one or two of that are littered throughout the analyses. Here, there's just several of them. It's simply insane. And adding to that is that there are actual sprite animations done just for the analysis. What? There are actual custom animations just for the analysis. We haven't seen that since, funnily enough, peak-ass episode Balrog vs TJ Combo. And I even spot a little BBX in there, I see you! The editing for these analyses is simply off the charts. It cannot be measured. While I don't think it quite hit the same amount of insanity and character in terms of the editing as Bill Cord, just simply due to the fact that Bill actively required most of his analysis to be this kind of editing, because there's just not a lot of him. I think it might be the only episode that I would put in the same tier in terms of the quality of the editing. There are plenty of other great episodes in this regard. I mean, Bardock vs. Omni-Man just 2 episodes ago has some of the crispest comic edits in the series, for instance. But these two to me stand head and shoulders above the rest. It's insane. What else do these episodes have in common that I think they stand head and shoulders above the rest of Death Battle in? Let's get to that fight. The start, perfect. Setup, best it could be. Bowser's having a wedding, turns out Cardboard Peach, and Eggman has just catfished Bowser, luring him and all of his leaders to one spot so he can crush them in one fell swoop while they aren't ready. It lets Bowser have his full army, including King Boo, without feeling contrived. It justifies Eggman having all his stuff prepared. Eggman wanted to take them all out, so he puts them all in one spot, and he set up his full army knowing he'd have a hell of a fight on his hands. All while doing a reference to the Super Mario movie, Mario Odyssey, Paper Mario, I think even the cardboard cutout gag from the end of 3D Land, as well as referencing the second Sonic film with the name of the operation. I fucking love that Bowser should be able to tell that Peach is a cardboard cutout, but he's so down bad that he doesn't notice. I like that despite Orbot and Cubot being unable to really fight, they end up being important to the episode because they are the ones who completed the operation to catfish Bowser, and they are the ones to give Eggman's announcement, which is one of the most naturally fitting meme lines they've ever done in a death battle, since Bowser then immediately strips, and Junior, without skipping a beat, runs in to back up his dad. Eggman then drops the entire fucking egg fleet from nowhere with a TIE fighter in the back, and they fit his classic get a load of this, which does feel a bit forced, but also perfect at the same time. And we just get a great shot of the armies facing off. It's a fantastic opening. It's the start. The fight hasn't even begun yet, and I've gone this long without saying it, but fucking look at it. Look at this animation. Holy fuck, holy shit, fuck ass. Look at this. It's so clean, it's so crisp, it's gorgeous. All the characters are full of charm and personality. Eggman gets across his arrogance, smarmy smugness flawlessly, and Bowser will get to show off his personality a bit more later on. Just look at how good Eggman's little head shake is, what the fuck. I'll mention the voice acting later, that's great too. The fight hasn't begun yet. No one's thrown a hand yet, but look at this. Ah! And when the fight does start, it's hectic. There's so much going on in the background, even while focusing just on the important characters. There's so much to say for, like, you know, just the character writing in this fight. Throughout it, Bowser is constantly looking out for his men as well as fighting Eggman's army. Eggman is pretty much just flying solo while relying on a few of his major units to complete relevant tasks for him. As brief as the Egg Dragoon's time in the sun was, it looks amazing. The shot of it flying back and firing is gorgeous, as is Bowser's lunge towards it, complete with Hotel Mario reference. And while it does initially seem a little odd that Eggman flies into the thick of the fight, with the reveal that it was a decoy, it comes across as even more characterful. Though not as characterful as Bowser genuinely falling for the decoy, and Eggman being so stunned by his stupidity that he gives away that it's a decoy immediately. Like, Eggman's plan of using a decoy worked. In fact, it worked so well that without Eggman even expecting him to, Bowser genuinely fell for that being Eggman himself. But because it ended up working so well, Eggman is so ridiculously baffled at the fact that this worked that he gives away what to him is obvious, sabotaging the advantage he wasn't expecting to have because he wasn't expecting to have it. Also, Metal Sonic and Slender Man cosplay. Infinite then shows up, and despite what is about to happen in about 8 seconds, he genuinely comes across as almost cool. In fact, they perfectly captured Infinite as a character. He spawns in with no build-up, does something awesome, and then immediately folds. But like, this whole bit is genuinely really smartly written. Eggman sends out Infinite to do his fighting for him. Infinite increases the gravity, and hey, you know what happens when Mario jumps on all the Koopa troops? Yeah, so they end up dying from the gravity as if they just got jumped on, even taking out Biffweed's favorite character of all time. Bowser then, being built different, doesn't just stay standing, he lifts his fucking arm up and uses his magic to keep the other troops safe once he realizes what's going on. This Moto Bug smacking the Goomba I think is also a neat way to show that this is a manipulation of perception. The machine that has no perception is unaffected by the Phantom Ruby. Then King Boo, also unaffected by gravity, takes Infinite out by spawning a thwomp out of Infinite's view and using his own increased gravity to make it hit harder and take Infinite down in one shot, successfully giving Infinite the crown of the named combatant to have the least amount of screen time in the show's history, even less than Michelangelo in the Deep. There's a fun little bit of all the troops fighting over the Phantom Ruby, with the Charging Chuck being the GOAT for all of a second before he gets outsmarted by Orbot and Cubot. The Elite Trio get the cameo, and then Metal finally shows up proper, fighting his way through half the Koopa troop and even taking off King Boo's crown. King Boo goes on to not show up for the rest of the fight, and I think combined with his laughing at Bowser and his boredom at the wedding, it does do a lot to show that he's not really a member of the Koopa troop. Like, he's just an associate of Bowser, not someone truly loyal, so he's the only one that bails in the fight. The chance time bit is really funny, with the panning up and then back down and Metal Sonic's brilliant reaction to losing the Ruby. Fucker rotates his head 360. Then maybe the coolest fucking transformation in the fight, and there is competition there, just a pissed off Metal Sonic Dutch angle transforming into Neo. The lighting is so good, the slow walk is bad ass, the coattails flying behind him, the line they chose to play, the way he immediately gets to business. When was he this cool? This is the coolest Metal Sonic has been since ever. If Sega ever bothered to give him this much aura and sauce, maybe people would actually buy that he could fight Cell. Bowser destroys the Ruby, but that just distracts him from Neo Metal's big ass kick that actually puts Bowser down. Eggman then only returns to the battlefield after everyone believes Bowser's been taken down, bringing Sage with him, and we get the Metal Sonic thumbs up, which I do love. Eggman even gets to say the more the merrier. And we get another contender for coolest transformation ever, with Bowser going into Fury, bursting out of the ground, and I mean, oh my god. Fury Bowser is actually animated often with a 3D model that was retextured to fit with the look of the fight, and the retexturing is done so fucking well that you can barely even tell most of the time. He looks phenomenal and has so much sheer presence to him. The moment he shows up, he throws a punch that Neo Metal has to kick Eggman out the way of, implying that it would have ended the fight right there and then. And then even with his black shield up, Bowser sends Metal flying across the entire fucking battlefield. The shot of the two preparing their punches at each other is so fucking raw. And I love that Eggman actively takes a step back beforehand, just to really show he was not ready for this. And the way that Bowser's one punch almost completely incapacitates the Death Egg robot. In fact, the Death Egg robot will go on to not do anything for the rest of the fight, so he did just incapacitate it in one hit, just shows the sheer power of the guy. Sage and Metal work together to stop Bowser from just ending the fight there and then. Metal even has to go super with another awesome transformation. And oh, it's so cool. The animation of Bowser flying up and dropping straight down is insane. Sage's defense looks great. The impact of Bowser hitting and then blowing through his shield, but then getting stopped by Super Metal is fucking awesome. This animation gives me Season 1 One Punch Man energy. Super Metal getting a ton of hits on Fury Bowser is cool, but Fury Bowser no-selling them is even cooler. There's this cool little dichotomy between Sage throwing Eggman's army at Bowser, because his army is literally disposable machinery, and Kamek spawning in and using a bunch of pipes instead of throwing troopers back. It's great, it says a lot about the armies themselves. As does the fact that Bowser actually turns to look when Kamek gets punched away. Like he's actually just worried enough that it distracts him, and Neo comes in to nearly get another hit in, until Shadow Mario pops up, uses his final smash, and Neo Metal just punches through it. The loyalty with Junior is palpable throughout the fight. He runs in to back his dad up immediately at the start. He's the only one shown reacting when Bowser gets injured. He immediately helps him out. He jumps in to protect his father despite the fact that we all just saw Bowser no-sell Metal's first volley. And later on, he's still there in front of Bowser at the end of the battle. We then get one of the rawest scenes in the entire show's history, with Bowser backhanding Super Neo Metal, summoning a Grand Star, and just blasting him. The line delivery, while a little weird with how close the lines of "how dare you" and "keep your hands off my son" are, is phenomenal. The sheer aggression and venom in Bowser's voice, the power he puts into it, how it sells his anger at seeing his son getting hurt, his fuck-off laser I'd say is the single rawest attack in the entire show. Especially because Metal immediately copies it, fires it back, and he doesn't even put up a fight. He gets annihilated in one shot. I can't emphasize enough. Prior to Trunks vs. Silver, every Super Hedgehog was portrayed as essentially invincible. Nobody could scratch them. Even Mario had to combine or spam power-ups just to keep up with Sonic super forms. Trunks was the first character to actively injure a Super Hog. Though he also flashes between turning the form on and off while doing so. You could argue that that was doing most of the work instead of sheer power, but here, the single coolest character up to now in the entire fight, in a Sonic super form, Hedgehog, whatever form, doesn't just get overpowered, he gets completely and utterly overwhelmed as Bowser blasts the emeralds out of him and vaporizes the guy in one shot. Sage's reaction is perfect. It gets across both the idea that she's, just kinda sad that Metal's dead, but also the fact that across a million calculations, one thing she never predicted was Bowser getting so angry that he just outclassed the Chaos Emeralds. Yeah, he used a Grand Star, but it feels like Sage would have predicted they'd be roughly even, not that Bowser's anger would push him enough to just outright win. And all the jokes I made building up to the episode's release about Eggman dropping the Eclipse from Berserk gets paid off as Bowser drops a very Eclipse looking black hole with the force of his attack, wiping the Egg Fleet out in one shot. And god, the reveal of the Death Egg is nuts. Panning up to the moon, the flashing of the emeralds as the Death Egg activates and goes off to the side. God damn, and this next bit might be my single favorite sequence in the entire show. Sage fires the Death Egg not at Bowser, but at Bowser's army. You can see Eggman's troops just abandon him, knowing that he'll just leave them to die, while Bowser stand their ground. They don't know what they can do, they're shocked. This guy is even praying to his lord and savior, Cool the Boogie Woogie Cat, but they don't abandon their king. They stay loyal. Bowser immediately pays back their loyalty by jumping in front of them and taking the blast entirely by himself. The impact's so great it literally melts the flesh off of his bones. Something that Sage calculated that he would do. Knowing that Bowser could dodge the blast, she aimed specifically at his army to exploit his protectiveness and ensure that the blast hits, successfully killing Bowser. Bowser dies. He's dead. The way they explain Dry Bowser in the analysis is his corpse being reanimated by himself. Whether or not Dry Bowser really counts as truly dead doesn't matter, the episode's intention is clearly that he dies here. And like, yeah, the egg pod's cracks are gone in this shot, these bits of rubble face to the ground, but that does nothing to diminish how perfect the sequence is. It perfectly shows up the difference in leadership, the loyalty the leaders have with their armies and one another, as well as Sage's calculating ability, and oddly enough, very subtly, the loyalty of Cubot and Orbot. The only members of Eggman's army that don't run away here are these two. Probably because they are still loyal and constantly delude themselves into thinking Eggman gives a shit about them. Ironically enough, that delusion means they're the only members of Eggman's army on the ground that survive the fight, because Bowser ends up protecting them too. Bowser Jr. then immediately turns Eggman's pod to stone, and the one thing Sage could not have predicted happens, as the dead Bowser just stands back up. And this ending is just fantastic. It continues being fantastic. Bowser Jr. initially looks like he misses his shot, but in actuality was always aiming at the Death Egg and turns it into a block. The way Bowser's army comes around to back him up as the rubble of what used to be Bowser's castle lay in the back. There's Eggman's really funny initial reaction to the block egg, and then the actually really nice moment where he seems genuinely concerned about Sage. Eggman's love for his daughter in the Sonic series is a lot less pronounced than the extent to which Bowser cares about his army, mostly because Sage was only recently introduced, so it being a lot smaller a moment than most of Bowser's but still very emotional really fits well, and I love that they included that. This does not read to me like he's thinking, oh no, the Death Egg is non-functional, but that he's worried, did Sage just die? And I love the sheer tenacity of Eggman. Bowser does his Kirby suck, and Eggman just keeps trying. His attempts to get away are futile, but I like that he has so many. His jetpack, his Genesis run, he whips out a gun that only doesn't work because Bowser Jr. turns it into cardboard, leading to one of the coolest kills in the show, where Bowser drops a So Long Gay Bowser reference and delivers a KO punch so hard it briefly turns them into sprites before sending Eggman flying off to the moon, into the giant question block that makes the fat mustached man dressed in red hit it so hard that it activates and rains coins everywhere as everyone celebrates with their king. Also, there's Orbot and Cubot again. What an ending. What an episode. It does so much right. It has fantastic writing and choreography, there's stunning shots and animation, it captures Eggman's selfishness and arrogance perfectly, with him sabotaging his own well-being multiple times, in particular showing up when he didn't need to just because he thought Bowser had been taken down. It gets across Bowser's big daddy energy, the loyalty and camaraderie of the Koopa Troop, the my only emotion is benignness and occasional anger energy of Metal Sonic. And while Sage is arguably the only character that I would say is underutilized, seeing as all she does is throw some machines and make a shield, I do understand that most of her powers are hacking based, they just do not work against Bowser's army, and I don't think the Titans needed to be here. She fires the Death Egg and perfectly calculates a way to make sure it kills Bowser, so not only does she do her job, she ends up being even more effective than Metal Sonic because she actually does kill Bowser. Sage did no wrong, and the ending bit showing the aftermath of the fight, keeping her alive, should make every Sonic fan happy. I'm happy to see she's alive. I think it's a cool bit to have at the end. And, I mean, the fact that none of the kids die, there's no gore or unnecessary swearing, there's like, the stuff that, the battle genuinely is so satisfying to watch. It understands the audience and demographic of these series, and perfectly captures their energy. I don't think anybody came out looking purely shit. Even Infinite got a few kills. Hell, even Orbot and Cubot successfully catfished Bowser before the fight began, and then survived the fight. The criticisms you could make are stuff like, look, Kamek's pipes only get damaged a bit here, then vanish in the next shot. Oh boy, the lights on the planet's surface do not turn with the rest of the planet. Oh no, the Koopa Troop are not visible in the final punch. Okay, that does annoy me a tiny bit, because I think the imagery of them standing by their king for the entire ending was really cool. Add a lot to the family vibe. At the very least, like, Bowser Jr. being here would have been fine, but, like, come on! Look at the fight! This is some of, you know what? Not even some of, it is the most gorgeous animation I have ever seen in a web series. I'm dead fucking serious. Even Galactus vs. Unicron, which is itself an absolutely stunningly gorgeous animation, just doesn't match how clean, fluid, and characterful the animation in this episode is. The only places where this fight falls flat are like things it didn't go for. For instance, while there is like a funny moment, there's not much comedy in this fight. So there are funnier episodes, but at that point you might as well say something like, yeah, this episode is good, but it's not the best Tracer versus Scout episode. Which, like, yeah, There is an episode that is better at specifically being Tracer versus Scout, like, barely, but what does it matter? This is so much better than Eggman's last episode, and so good that I'm pretty sure it's Bowser's only episode. This is the best fight animation I think Death Battle has ever done. It looks better than Galactus vs Unicron, it goes harder than Saitama vs Popeye, it has more character than the Scooby vs Courage, it has better transformations than any Dragon Ball episode, more impact than Sauron vs the Lich King, it's overall even better than Bill Cipher vs Discord. This episode could not be better, except that it also has a really good conclusion. Now, it is the weakest part of the episode, in part because I can't deny there's a little oddities in there. For one thing, one of the categories is intelligence, and I just couldn't help but feel like that was a bit shoehorned in there for the sake of giving Eggman a win. Not to say that intelligence is not a factor in determining the winner of matchups, but they pretty much explain it in the sense of, you know, Bowser has a bunch of, like, self-destructive traps in his, like, castles, while Eggman's a good engineer, but stuff like who's the better at, like, combat intelligence is not really brought up in this segment, nor is leadership ability, which is the next category, or the category after the next one. It really feels like they wanted to give Eggman something. They also get dangerously close to a golden tree moment, by saying out of nowhere that context matters for the displacement trap and metal virus, and both backfiring in the past, despite the fact that in the analysis only one of them has one problem brought up, but Wiz does go on to say how Bowser just counters them regardless, so it comes close enough to a golden tree to be a little funny, but not enough to be annoying. Then they show a fucking alternate scenario, a fantastic, though I doubt recurring, choice to show different abilities that couldn't make it into the fight. Like in this case, mostly the metal virus. The next one shows Super Eggman getting fucking mogged into a mustache Goomba by the Wonder Flower. The Time Eater fighting Dreamy Bowser is also one, and it looks nuts actually. If Fury Bowser didn't come into being, this probably would have been the finale. But like, as it is, Fury Bowser fighting the Time Eater doesn't really work. They also have Nightmare Eggman, I think, versus the Star Rod, I believe. And for anyone complaining that the two got downplayed, there you go. Infinite Multiversal Time Eater, Paradox Prism, Pure Hearts, and Chaos Emeralds, because they showed, like, scaling of the Chaos Emeralds, like, affecting the whole cosmology sort of scaling, is on screen. There you go. They have Multi-Plus mentioned, if you just fucking read. I can't necessarily say that this end screen makes it seem as close as they say. I mean, really, the only downside you could think of for Bowser is that one of Kamek's abilities doesn't work. Could have at least had, like, I don't know, the average Goomba and Koopa probably are just less powerful. I mean, I can't even say if they are, but, like, something about how, like, Eggman's airships probably have more firepower. That Bowser's army has less firepower in general, because Eggman's is a lot more potent in range, I guess. Eggman's pluses at least could have included that Metal Sonic solos most of Bowser's army. Still, it's not that bad. And the conclusion is the only thing I could reasonably criticize, and it's more so just that a handful of parts of it are a bit funny in how they fail to sell Eggman's ability to keep up. Something that is far outclassed by the fucking animation that exists only for the conclusion and looks this good. Mori did this in one day? What is this man? Is this the carbonated gem of animation? Who is this guy? Except for, I mean, I know who he is. Why am I saying who is this guy? Mori has been around for a while. He's so good! He's so fucking good! The conclusion overall was still super in-depth and clean. It actually mentions, I think, almost everything important, and the corner boxes only address the minor elements, like the ways in which they can be argued equal in certain areas, or how certain niche things match other certain niche things. They don't include any fucking critically important elements in the corner boxes. Good. And both it and the fight are backed by Game Over, a track that has both Tyler Anderson and an approaching storm. This is probably my new favorite track in the entire show. It's so fucking good. It has the same clout I give Wings of Iron, where it just does not sound like a versus track. It does not sound like it's matched to a fight. It sounds like its own fucking awesome song, while still managing to match the fight perfectly in the episode itself. Oh, I guess I forgot to mention the voice acting as well, my bad. It's fantastic. While most characters just reuse voice lines and sound effects from their games, the big two are given full performances. Arthur Romeo does a phenomenal job as Dr. Eggman, one of the best debut performances in the entire show in my opinion. Every line is dripping with the perfect amount of egg energy if you will. with special mention to the perfect capturing of Eggman's "I'm genuinely worried but also confident enough that I can solve this problem so I'm not that worried" tone when he's telling Sage to fire the cannon, as well as a great subtle bit of concern when she's potentially harmed, and an amazing death cry. Bowser was then done by Zach Watkins? The animator. If Zach was capable of this kind of performance the whole time, why did it take so long to drop a role for him? Bowser's performance is phenomenal. As a character with many different portrayals in his voice, I think Zach did a great job bringing a unique flair to the character that still sounded exactly like what you'd expect from him. Fantastic deliveries across the fight that capture his confidence and arrogance and genuine anger at points. Both of these two also perfectly deliver the most wonderfully sinister villain laughs. Just stunning work all around. The writing is phenomenal, the animation is phenomenal, the fight's pacing, lighting, fucking cinematography is phenomenal, the voice acting is fantastic, the music's amazing, both analyses and the fight are tantamount to perfection, the conclusion is extremely solid. Look, if I wasn't the biggest Godzilla fan of the Southern Hemisphere, this would easily be my all-time favorite episode, because I think it is the best episode. By far, the best of them all. It outclasses other heavy hitters like Saitama vs. Popeye, Scooby vs. Courage, and Bill vs. Discord. Combined! Nobody held back for this one. It's full of some of the best editing, animation with every single portion of the episode, the cleanest looking of all the fights. I can't sing its praises enough. It captures everything I love about Versus in general. It feels like a crossover between the characters. It balances crossing over the abilities of the characters with the units of their armies, with how they interact. The writing is so true to the characters that this genuinely comes across like what Nintendo and Sega could do if they ever had a single testicle between them, and made an animator short of the villain's meeting. The only thing stopping this from being a perfect replication of what they do is that it's too good. Metal Sonic is actually cool, Infinite actually does stuff, it isn't ruined by Mario and Sonic running in to fix everything. This is what I love in Versus, the ability to tell stories that wouldn't be possible if the series actually crossed over, while still feeling like it would be the ideal of what if they did though. The characters are exactly as I know them. This is them. This isn't Death Battle Bowser and Eggman, this isn't a Flanderization, there isn't some attempt to dumb their characters down to just the versions people know best. This is them. This is Bowser, the lovable oaf big father figure to his kingdom, who fights for his loyal subjects and stands as a leader of a gang of assholes that love one another as the ultimate goon squad of the cosmos. This is Eggman, the brilliant, arrogant, self-aggrandizing asshat who thinks he's won before he's even opened the game board, entirely selfish in his utilization of an army of disposable, worthless drones, with the sole exception of the one that wormed her way into his heart against all of his wishes. This is Bowser Jr., this is King Boo, this is Metal Sonic, hell, this is fucking Infinite. This is perfect. This is the once-in-a-year episode that Bill vs. Discord and Scooby vs. Courage were. I did not stutter there. Of course, I don't want people to think this is the standard I hold Death Battle up to, let alone any other Versus show. When I say this is what I love in Versus, I don't mean the sheer quality and beauty of the episode. That's something that I think only Death Battle can pull off to this extent, and even by Death Battle standards, this is exceptional. This is not the norm. But the passion, the love, the desire to portray these characters as faithfully as possible, tell a story with them, the creativity, the effort, the love of not reducing these characters to a stat line that idiots outside the community think is all everyone in the community does. The best episodes made by this community shared these traits, and while none of them, not even the other ones made by Death Battle, could match how amazing Bowser vs. Eggman is, I don't think lesser of them for it. Episodes like this remind me why I love and why I stick with Versus. In a sense, Death Battle is Bowser, and we are the Koopa Troop. A band of fucking losers who love one stupid thing that we all know is dumb, but we enjoy it anyway. Sticking around by the side of this one bigger, prouder dickhead in the middle that we followed for years, followed through the trips, through the successes, through the massive bangers, they will stay in support. Hitting the Kickstarter goal in 20 minutes is a very Koopa Troop supporting Bowser coded moment. Furthermore, this episode gives me extra faith in what's gonna come up. Not because I think this is the quality of what we're gonna get in the future, but because this makes me think, yeah, they could absolutely pull off Ash vs. Yugi as best as it could be. They could absolutely characterize Gru and Megamind better than literally every entry in their franchises past the initial films. They can pull off Super Topper Tenga Gurren Lagann, they can make Kratos vs. Azura insane, and yes, they will cook like hell with the next time, Fall Guys vs. Among Us. What do you want me to say? The preview we got with 4 beans and 4 crewmates looks really cool, and I want to know what Laurel Windwood is thinking about all this. And hey, if anyone working on the Death Battle wants to sneak in my my Fallen Among Us track into the episode, yeah, just let me know. Or even don't. Just put it in there without telling me. I'm just saying, if you want to, that's completely okay. You have my consent. You're not going to, but it'd be really fucking funny if you did. I love Bowser vs. Eggman. It should be obvious. You can read the fucking title, I hope. And now, I'm probably editing this at like 3 to 4 a.m. in the morning, so I should shut the fuck up so future me can have a nap. I hope all of you, and I'm gonna assume most of you, love this episode as much as I do. This is truly something. I knew this would be peak, and you know, a lot of the times when Death Battle, like people behind Death Battle, like hype up episodes, I'm a little concerned because, with the exception of Scooby vs. Courage, anyone that I was actually there to hear the hype for building up from the people behind them tended to disappoint me a little bit because the hype was just built up too much. The hype wasn't built up enough for this one. They undersold it, and they were saying this is going to be the best episode of all time, and they were underselling it. This, wow. Yeah, it's going to be weird to say this, given this is a 6,000 plus word script. This left me speechless. And I could still ramble about it, which, if that doesn't tell you I've got some manner of ADHD, I don't know what will. Alright, I'll see you guys some point in the future with another video. Probably the Fall Guys Among Us review will be obviously the next review for Death Battle. Go check out Biffweed's review. I know, especially with the reaction he gave this episode, just talking with me in DMs, that if he didn't have time to do the review, he'd still find a fucking way. So his review will be out either before or after mine. I doubt it'll be the exact same day. If it's already out, it'll be linked in the description. If it's not, it will be linked in the description. Yeah. Have a good one, folks, and I guess enjoy the little end bit, as usual.
So funny, you know it's Dave! I'm living!
Let's take this thing down! You died to a fucking dwarf!
Kevin, how many you had?
I mean, I had 5, but for my head.
You played 3 cards! And you say you fought the victory?
Sure, here you go.
Wait, where'd you get that?
Hey, yo!
Sure, I love checkers.
Weeping like...
My son's name out your fucking mouth!
Well, that's that then, isn't it? Yeah, this I think is the new longest fully positive review on the channel of a Death Battle episode. Correct me if I'm mistaken. It is at least longer than Billcord, not counting like the ad and the end bit here that Billcord has. So yeah, thank you for Hyper with the infinite memes bit that just spawned in. He just spawned that in, saying he would. So yeah, that would be that. I hope you all enjoyed the review. Tell me what you thought below. I'm sure most people agree that this is a great episode. But if not, tell me why you think Eggman should have won. So yeah, I said a lot. So yeah. Thank you to everyone scrolling by who supported me on Patreon. You can support me too if you want to. You can go to the link in the description and you can go to Patreon and support me. And you can also make me say stupid stuff on my Patreon and the Discord, which I will read stuff out from right now. You can also get reviews early, which is something I'm doing. which, yeah, you probably got this one early, and it's not going to matter for the rest of the year, because we're not going to get any more episodes. But what am I saying? This is not the last episode. We've got Fall Guys Among Us, yeah.
It's too late. I'll crush you.
I don't have a favorite egg-based dish. Fraud says what? Huh? My favorite infinite...
Wish this person a happy birthday!
I'm not gonna crush myself with a flop. I'm not into that.
It's from Bowser. Dear pesky plumbers, fuck you! Ah! I've come to make an announcement. Bowser the Koopa King is a bitch-ass mother-
Shut up, nerd! Domain expansion! Infinite thwomped!
Yeah, this episode made me draw Yaoi art of King Boo and Metal Sonic. So you can look at that.
Waspinator, terrorize! Waspinator not like this situation. Bowser Bot just destroyed Eggman.
I don't know what else to make Waspinator say. Like most of what Waspinator says just as he gets folded by something or other. Yeah. I got this out a little bit late. So I am not everyone's gonna get to respond to this call for random stuff. But whatever is not in this, I will remember to put in Fall Guys Among Us's one. Or I won't, and you guys won't know. Alright, that'll be all for this video. Goodbye, everyone. Have a lovely day.